Section 8 clients. Do you get like a list of people?
My name is Aline, and I just recently...
Okay.
So think about your workflow. Again,
I don't know how to do it.
I know how to do it, and I'm trying to instruct other people to do better in their business, but I also have to do better in my business. Hey everyone out there in YouTube land and our Facebook group, Metro Detroit Off Market Real Estate Group. How you guys doing today? Hope you're all doing well. First off, if you have any questions, put them in the side chat. We'll answer them as we go. Love to have you. But I have this very, very special guest, Bill Allen, CEO of Seven Figure Flipping. And I know we got a lot of flippers here in the Metro Detroit area. We also got some buy and hold people, but they also flip as well. So I am very, very happy and humble to have Bill Allen. We had him come to Detroit, for a meetup before through Dean Grigowski. And if you were at that meetup, by all means, I know you know exactly what kind of value this guy adds. If you weren't, we did record some of that and put it on our YouTube channel. Go ahead and look back. I'm going to actually put if you're watching this on the replay, we're going to have the link to that video in the description. So go ahead and look into that. But without further ado, welcome Bill Allen. Bill, how are you doing today?
Great, Randy. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. So I'm very happy to hear that you came on here. And first off, before we get started, anyway, you have a YouTube channel as well. So what's the name on your YouTube channel?
I do. It's at Bill Allen REI. It's right there next to my name. It's my name, Bill Allen. I kind of interview some entrepreneurs in the plane. We've been doing a ton of like fun shorts lately and stuff like that. So you can check it out.
Yeah, and they're always entertaining. I watch them all the time. So,
nice.
So with that being said, how did you get started in real estate? And give us a little bit of background on who you are, what you've done, things like that.
Sure. If you have no idea who I am, I've flipped and wholesaled over 1,000 houses at this point. I've been doing real estate for the last 10 years. But I was an active duty Navy pilot. So I just retired in June after 20 years. I did 15 years of active duty and 5 years in the reserves as a naval aviator. I got to fly for 20 years straight. It was really awesome. And the way I got started was I got married and I was like dabbling in real estate. I had a couple rental houses. I had one rental house before I got married. I bought another one while I was engaged with my wife. And I'd never flipped a house or even thought about flipping a house. I thought I was just going to buy 10 rental properties, make $100,000 a year passively on my rentals, and then retire from the Navy and get my pension. That was like my retirement plan. I never met anyone in my life that made more than $150,000 a year at that point. Like that was the cap. I was like, if I make $150,000 or $200,000 a year, I'll be like the richest person I know. And I'll be a millionaire by the time I'm 65. That was like my mentality. Saved a lot of my money, was super cheap. Just saved 65% of my salary. Well, then I got married, and then my wife was like not working. She's from England. I met her in England. She moved back here. And so now I got to feed 2 people. And then we got pregnant pretty soon after we got married. And so now I'm like, I have 3 mouths to feed and only one of us works. So my whole savings plan just went in the toilet basically. And now I was like, okay, what am I going to do here? So I'm like, I got to accelerate my real estate rental buying. I got to buy more rentals, but I kept running out of money. You mentioned buy and hold investors, which I'm all for buy and hold. I'm all for creating passive income. I love it. But I was putting a down payment down and I didn't even know I could raise money from other people. So I'd save up for a down payment, put the down payment down, and then get a loan from the bank. And I did that like 10 times in a row. And so So I bought a rental, and my realtor said, you know, if you sold this, you could make a lot of money. She wanted a second commission, which I get. And I did. I fixed it up. I sold it. I made $43,000. At the time, that was half of my annual income. I was like, wow, could I do this again? And then it took me 6 months to find the next one, but I found another one. I fixed it up, sold it, made $45,000. So I did one flip every year for 2 years, and I made my annual income. And then I said, well, what if I could do more of these? What if I could do 12 of these a year, 15 of these a year, or something like that? And I set a goal to do 12. I had no idea how I was going to do it, but I really ramped up and scaled by joining a mastermind group. That's kind of getting around people. I got around my first person I'd ever met who was making $1 million a year, like $1 million a year. I was like, I said, it's not possible. There's no way. And then I got in the same room as them, sat down next to them, and realized they're just like me. In fact, they don't have all the degrees that I have. They don't have all the experience in the military that I had, but they didn't have this like mindset block or this barrier to money. So that's like as short as I can make it, how I kind of got started in real estate. And then from there, I started kind of scaling my business. We did 67 houses the first year. Then we did 135 the next year, then 187 the year after that. And then we did about 200 a year for the past, 4 years or so.
Wow. That is awesome. So with that, how did you, is there like a horror story of a property that you learned multiple lessons? Now, for me, every deal that I've done, I've learned something from, and I'm sure that that's same thing with you. But
yeah,
is there something where everything went wrong, basically?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a few of those. I would say the biggest thing that I want to point out is it's really easy to jump on this and be like, oh, like it was so easy for him. Like it happened overnight. It's not true. I was like learning in the dark for years, reading books. I wouldn't even buy a book. I was like going to the library, checking out books, free podcasts, free everything. And so it took years of me before I even got out there and did anything. So I hope that's not you. I hope you aren't like somebody who has to just do all that. And then it took me 4.5 months after I joined that mastermind to get my first deal. So I paid $25,000 to join a program. And 4.5 months into that program is when I got my first $9,900 check from wholesaling a deal. So 4.5 months of me doing the same thing over and over and over again and saying, being consistent, listening to my coach, and taking the actions that I was being told to do. And maybe small tweaks along the way, but the belief that I had that I would do it was like, I was unshakable belief. And I paid in full. I was like, I'm paying $25,000 because I'm going all in. Like this is the right people. This is where I want to be. And it paid off in spades 67 houses later. But that 67 houses would after 4.5 months of doing the work before I got my first check. So, and I remember a house specifically. So this house was on HGTV twice. So it was on Beachfront Bargain Hunters or something, and then like some other like luxury waterfront show. I bought the house off market. It was somebody who won the lottery who called me because they were broke. So this is totally common, and this everybody talks about it. But they won the lottery. They won a couple $1 million. Bought this house, boats, cars. I pulled up. There was like a nice boat, Corvette, all stuff. They fixed it up. They put hundreds of thousands of dollars into the house, and they couldn't pay their tax bill. They got a big tax bill for like $400K. And so they held a first position mortgage. I got them to owner finance it if they got a certain amount of money back. So I had them owner finance it. I brought in a lender to do a second to pay for the rest of it. I had no money in the deal. I had to do like $30,000 or $40,000 worth of work because the work they did just wasn't that great. It wasn't ideal. And then there was railroad tracks. So there was two. It was on the bay, and there was a big house, pool in the front yard on this like side road, and then railroad tracks. And then there was another parcel that was the waterfront like dock and area, but you have to walk across the railroad tracks. I had a friend who was one of my investors at the time. He wouldn't invest in it because of the railroad tracks. He's like, I'm not lending you money because of the railroad tracks. And I was like, okay. I put him in another deal. Didn't think anything of it. I probably should have listened to him. And we fixed it up. It was a high-end property in a non-high-end area. So Pensacola doesn't have a lot of really high-end houses, 800,000 plus houses. So very small market that I was marketing to. The market wasn't really hot. This was in like 2017, probably
Okay.
right around there. So it was still kind of a buyer's market or like, somewhere in the middle.
Yep.
So people looking at that house were looking at all the other $800,000 houses. I didn't realize that price drops on an $800,000 house. Like you can't do what I did in the 250 to 300 where I was living. That's most of my houses.
Yeah.
First time median home price houses there. 150 to 250 is about what our ARVs were. You can't do a $10,000 price drop. Nobody pays attention to that. So you got to do a $50,000 price drop. And so it was just the railroad tracks, all the stuff, the hold times, the holding costs, eating my lunch, the contractors. I was using my $150,000, $200,000 house contractors for an $800,000 house. It just all pointed to disaster. I ended up losing 70 grand on the house. But nobody knew. Like my lenders didn't know. They got paid in full. We were doing a business that had about 10 transactions a month at that time. So, we pretty much broke even that month. So the $70,000 loss, we had enough profitability in the company to eat that hit. And I learned a lot. I pretty much lost money on all the expensive houses I've ever done. I lost 50K on another one, lost 30K on another one. Have a crazy story about how I bought a house, fixed it up, sold it, and then I got sued 2 years later and I bought it back, turned it into an Airbnb. Then a hurricane hit it 2 weeks before closing. And then I sold it for $300,000 less than I was going to sell it for 3 weeks before that to the same buyer.
Wow.
So it's all kinds of crazy stuff that happens in the real estate business. I could literally write a book on how many people have pulled a gun on me, how many times I've gotten like fleas going into houses, you've been yelled at, screamed at, all kinds of stuff.
Wow. So, going through all of that, I mean, yeah, it's battle scars, it's this, it's that. But I think one thing that keeps you going, the good thing is that you had other flips going on at the same time to be able to offset a lot of those losses. So you're taking calculated risks at this moment. Is that right?
So I would agree with that. But honestly, even if I hadn't, sometimes the lessons that we learn when we lose money or break even are better than the ones that we're doing well. What I learned at that time was I thought everything I touched turned to gold at that time. Like I hadn't lost money before. I hadn't really been burned. I pretty much thought I was like the golden child. I was like I was very successful in the mastermind group. I became one of the coaches and I thought I couldn't fail probably. And I probably wouldn't have said that out loud or actually believed it then, but I had no business buying that house. And in fact, it was a competitive offer with another realtor who was going to get it instead of me. And I was like, I'll pay a little bit more. I'll figure this out. Like I'm going to win. And so I learned a ton of lessons there. But one thing that I will say, so Annie Duke is a poker player. She is a phenomenal poker player, like world-winning poker player. She also has a PhD. And so she wrote a book called Thinking in Bets and another book called How to Decide. I had the opportunity to interview her on my podcast probably 4 years ago. And then she came to our event, Flip Hacking Live, like that same year. It was virtual, it was in 2020. So it was almost 4 years ago now. We had like a 5-hour conversation one day, just 2.5 hours before the show, before we even hit record. Most fascinating person I've met probably ever. And so she said something to me that I'll never forget. She said, how often do you lose money on houses? And I said, well, at that point I had done like 600 houses. I was like, I've done, 500 or 600 houses. I probably lost money on 5 of them. And so she's like, okay, so like 1% of the time you've lost money? And I was like, yeah. So she's like, so when you buy a house, you have a 99% chance of making money? I was like, yeah, I guess. Like when you put it that way, yeah. And she's like, so why don't you just buy way more? And I was like, you know what? You're right. Like, and so she said, when she has a 60% chance of winning a hand, all she has to do is play more. All she has to do is get involved in that pot. So she's like, as a poker player, this is the most ridiculous, like the fact that people aren't playing more and doing this more and growing and scaling their business is insane to her. She's like, if I had a 99% chance of winning, I would be a billionaire right now. And so when she said that, it was a huge aha for me to try to figure out, like, I thought in the beginning, me doing just one house a year was less risk.
Right.
And what she told me is like, that's actually more risky, because now if you lose money on that house, you're 100% chance of losing money that year.
Right.
And so that's when I started to say, okay, you know what? I can actually, if I know what I'm doing, avoid, understand the business, understand the numbers, I'm watching it, I'm paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
I can become really, really successful in this business, make a whole lot of money, help a whole lot of people if I learn how to grow it, this thing. Because, let's just say you lost money on 10% of the houses that you did.
Right.
90% chance of winning. Like, you just have to play more. You just have to get involved more. So, and what I'm not saying for everyone that's watching this is to go out there and just do risky deals just to do more deals, because then your odds are going to go way down. But if you develop your risk platform, like your risk tolerance, and you go out there and understand your buy range. And honestly, if I hadn't done those expensive houses at all, I'd probably be close to 100%. So
most definitely
figure out where you're buying, what your box looks like, what the purpose of your company is, and just go play more.
Exactly. Follow the numbers. And that's what I tell everybody is that no matter what your numbers is, one investor's numbers might be different from another because their risk tolerance might be a little bit more than say the others, but also areas vary, so always follow the numbers. And I try to tell people, as soon as you let emotion get involved, that's when you lose.
Yep.
So from what I'm gathering is it sounds like the more people you get around that are doing better than you, the better you do. And it's not just getting around them, it's learning from them, having these conversations. And now you're thinking outside the box. You're thinking, oh, well, I guess, something like you just said, something just clicked. Oh, I didn't think about it like that. It's a percentage. Oh yeah, I guess I do have a 99% chance of winning when I buy a house because we buy a lot, things like that. So getting in front of people.
I think that's right for everyone,
yeah.
But I think it's the right people. So you need to get around the right people for you. And so people ask me all the time, hey, what mastermind should I join? Who should I hire as my coach? Like, what should I do? Should I be with you guys or somewhere else? And I say, look, find somebody who has your values, find a place that you feel comfortable and at home in, and then go all in there. A lot of the problem that's going on right now in our world, like not just real estate, like I'm talking everywhere. There's so much information out there, and the access to information is immediate. That we're following too many people. Like we're listening to 5 different people that are all saying 5 different things. And we're trying, as a brand new person or very early on in our journey, we're trying to understand what to take from each of them. That's not the way it works. That's not the way it's ever worked. Like you find one person and they're your mentor. They guide you. You follow their plan and you go. Like that's always how in the tribes, very like thousands of years ago. It's like this is the person that's going to teach me my craft, and I'm going to go do. And so now it's just so easy to be like, oh yeah, but this person said this, and we just get confused. We're like totally drowning in information right now, but we're really starving for his wisdom. And so what I tell everybody is like, just find the person to go all in on, and then turn everything else off. Like turn it off. You don't need to listen to 50 different podcasts. You don't listen to read 100 different books a year. Like just figure out somebody who has the life that you want. They have the values that you want, and go all in on that and just stick with it. At least a year, give them a year. And then study, learn, like how did they get there? What did they do? Because they're going to attract other people that are just like them. I tell people in my community all the time, like I'm the head recruiter. So I like go out on the shows, I go out on the podcast, I do my show, I do my thing. And my goal is to recruit people that have the same values that we all have and bring them back. And then we build like this community of people that want to lift each other up, and we have similar values. You'll see if you come to like everybody pretty much dresses the same, like nobody's wearing a suit, wearing like t-shirts and sweatshirts and stuff. It's just like everybody is like, you feel at home there. But the person who wears a suit, who wants to drive like whatever, or wear like that person is not necessarily going to feel comfortable in our world. But there's a world for them. There's like a person for them. There's a mentor for them. There's a guide for them. And so find your place. That's the biggest thing I say. And then turn the other stuff off. Like Daniel LaRusso did not go to like Mr. Miyagi and then like also the dude from Cobra Kai and the other 2 dojos and try to figure out how to fight. He just, Mr. Miyagi's like training him. That's it. He's like, okay, like you tell me, fine. Like I'll paint the fence, I'll wax the floor, whatever. And in the beginning, he didn't know what was happening. He didn't know what was going on. He was just like waxing the floor. He's like, why am I doing this? And he's fighting it and he's bucking this. And then sure enough, tries to punch him and he blocks it. Right. And so the mentor knows what you need before you do. So I know I went off a tangent a little bit, but
That's
a lot
right.
of people say like, just get around the right people. It's like, okay, but who are the right people? Where are they? Just find somebody, because most of the time people are lying about their life. Like you see the highlight reels and that stuff's not true. They're not willing to share the horrible things that are happening, all the bad stuff with the good stuff. Find somebody who's real, find somebody who's authentic, cut through the BS, and find somebody who has the same values that you have. Their life looks like what you want your life to look like. Figure out how they did it if they're willing to share.
Most definitely. So Miss Tammy B says, I agree. So yeah, 100%. I cannot say that enough. Tammy's awesome. We had her on the last podcast, and I actually had the chance to talk with her the other day. And from the last podcast, when we were giving her wholesaling advice on just do things, just talk to people, now she basically has a deal locked up, almost has a buyer, and she's wholesaling it right now. So
love it. Randy, you do coaching, you help people like grow their business?
So that's what I'm working on right now. That's the whole point of this podcast and the Facebook group. So what I'm doing, actually, I'm working on a coaching program right now, but I'm the type of person that unless it's polished or, like I don't feel charging somebody unless like I feel like under promising and over delivering. That's my motto.
Well, the reason I asked that is because I just want to say, like, if you're watching this and you're like Randy's person and he's helping you and he's like developing you and like Tammy's on the last show, like just turn everything else off and just listen to Randy. Like, this is the thing. It's like people are like, I'm listening here, here, and here. It's like, no, just like go all in on your guy or your gal and turn off the noise. And then when somebody else is like, oh, I'm over here, just be like, oh, cool, that's fine. I'm over here. I'm going to make things happen and go all in. And believe me, you will see the fruit from that. Like you dig those deep roots, you're going to see some really incredible fruit.
So what I've done is I'm taking one student, I'm doing it for free for them, and we're recording it throughout the whole process. But I'm picking a student that I know will take action, because if they don't take action, we can't get to the end. So that's kind of what I'm doing. So, and the reason why I interviewed Tammy for that position as well, but she just said the buyer signed the purchase agreement, and if I had a bell right now, I'd be ringing it. So, and she's super excited. So that's awesome.
So, hey, before we move on, one thing that I want people to hear, if you're like struggling to get in the business and get things going, and you feel like you're pushing a boulder up a really steep hill, first of all, it's totally normal. It's you're building new habits. You're breaking down the old habits. You're building new habits. You're doing something new. Something new is always difficult and challenging. That's why most people quit. And so the getting from 0 deals to your first deal is a bigger accomplishment than anything else that you'll ever experience in your real estate career. So that first deal is so important and so powerful. That is the game. Getting from 0 to 1 is like the only game you need to play. Once you get from 1 to get to 10, it's easier to get to from 10 to 100 is even easier to get from 100 to 1,000. Like, because now you've built the muscle around it. It's just simple. Like your brain is just on autopilot a lot of times. Comping properties gets easy. Being able to identify a deal gets easy. You've just done so many reps, it becomes easy. But that 0 to 1 game is the game of, I don't know if I can do it. And the second that contract sign time is so awesome. And it's like wholesaling that or flipping it or whatever you're doing on exit strategy, like that first deal will get you the belief shift that you need to say, I'm a real estate novice interested in real estate to I'm a real estate investor. And that identity shift will change everything for you in your career, in your business. That's it. That's what it takes. And most people don't stick around long enough. They're like, oh yeah, I tried that real estate thing. It didn't work for me. It didn't work for them because they quit probably 3 days before they were building up the foundation that was about to explode and get deals and find stuff. So that's one piece of advice I can give you. If it feels hard, it's because it should. Like you're basically like going to the gym and like tearing the muscles to get stronger. You're doing that same thing mentally. and it's really challenging. Like that's even harder than going to the gym. Like the mental gym is the toughest one out there.
And most definitely, that's what I've learned is that stop listening to people who have not done things before. Okay. Listen to the people who've been there and who's done it, because somebody who's just worked a 9 to 5 their whole entire life saying real estate doesn't work. Well, how do you know? You've never done it, you know? So real quick, Dean Growski says, "Hi, hey guys, how's it going?"
What's up, Dean? Good to see you.
Awesome. Man. So Dean, by the way, Dean is the reason that I've met Bill, period, that I even know about you in the first place. So
nice. And then you sent me like a, I don't know, was it a cold Facebook message? Like, hey,
yeah, it was cold.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yep. It was like, you know, Dean's like, well, how'd you get him? I'm like, I just asked. That's it. You know,
you caught me in a good season. I love getting on these, and I haven't done a lot of these in a while.
Yep.
And so you caught me in a season where I'm saying yes to this kind of stuff again. So.
That's awesome. And I watch every one of your podcasts, by the way. So
nice. Sweet.
So yeah, that's awesome. And so tell me a little bit about how you became the CEO of Seven Figure Flipping. Like, how did that transpire?
That's kind of an interesting story. So the first mastermind that I joined, I told you I spent $25,000 on. It was called Seven Figure Flipping. And so I was a student. I became a coach after I did pretty well over the first year and a half or so. The owner at that time, Justin Williams, he asked me to become a coach. I did. And then I got to a point where I was either going to do my own thing or I wanted to do more inside of that community. And I really loved that community. Like it had built my business up, it built me up. And I love giving back to things that serve me. And so I asked him if I could come in and do more. I was like, hey, I want to do more. Or I was thinking about starting my own thing. I don't think I ever told him that, or he knows that. He might. But I said, I want to do more. I want to run the events. I want to plan everything that we're doing. I really wanted to change the culture of things, make the events better and those kind of things. And he's like, all right, why don't you come in and just be the COO, just help run the whole company. So he did all the marketing and I did like everything towards the back end. So I did all the, I worked with the sales team. I built a lot of the membership events and things like that. I hired some coaches and we started doing some coaching in there. And I dealt with the finances. I hired the bookkeeper and dealt with the finances on the back end of the business. And then about a year later, he was interested in potentially doing something different. And so I bought the company from him. So I was with that company, Seven Figure Flipping, for like 3 years. And then I bought it. And I've owned it for almost 5 years now. It's crazy to think that I've owned it longer than it was around before. So I'm the owner, the CEO, but I'm not the founder. Like I didn't create the thing. So I struggle with that sometimes. But I did create, new branding, like all the logos and it's all aviation related. Like we have a runway program, we have an altitude program. I built the 8-figure entrepreneur group. So all of that stuff, we kind of like rebranded in 2019 when I bought it. And so I've just been, changing things and making it mine and adjusting, like a lot of the different offerings that we have and stuff like that. And we have some new stuff coming out I'm really excited about. So, that's kind of the story. I use I don't know if anybody's like as old as me that watches this. It's like there's a hair club for men commercial when I was a kid. And it was like, I'm not just the president, I'm also a client. So it's like the guy who owned it that also like was bald before. So I kind of feel like that, I was a client in the beginning and now I own it. So who better to know how to run it and how to talk to the people that are coming in and how to understand what they want and need than somebody who's been through this exact program from the beginning, doing one house a year to now doing hundreds of houses. Like I think I know how people, how people go through a program like this, what they see what they see online about how, coaching programs and masterminds are scams and things like that. And I really do want to put those kind of people out of business with a really great program. I focus a lot on the back end of things. So like the fulfillment of it, and make sure the program's really good. I could be better on the front end marketing. But probably a lot of people watching this have no idea who I am or who we are. And that's my fault. That's a problem that I need to work on is do better in the marketing world, be louder. And but I spend a lot more time like making sure that our people are really successful. So
and that's always a good thing,
It's a good thing,
that's what makes a good program a good program. But you're right. You got to get people out there that know you.
I agree with that. However, you know, I remember I was watching Undercover Billionaire, the second one that Grant Cardone was on, and he said something that I'll never forget. He said, "Best known beats best." And when he said that, I went, "Crap." You know, he's right. Like, there's a lot of people out there that are selling people a lot of crap because they're better known than me. It's my job to go out there and be more well known, which is why I'm saying yes to a lot of these things now. So
That's awesome.
It's what we have to do. Like, we have to get out there and we have to be in front. And I'm definitely a better behind the scenes guy than I am front man for the company. But for the last 4 years, that's all I've worked on, is being on stage, talking to people, going to events, like how to be a better extrovert when I'm really a closet introvert. So
most definitely. And Dean says, no doubt, best known beats best.
That's right. It's true. It's absolutely true. It's exactly right.
Yeah.
So I need to work better on being more well known.
Most definitely. So what advice would you say for like a beginner who's, say, on a budget at the moment, just starting out, trying to get their feet wet with real estate, things like that, whether it be a new flipper or a new wholesaler, or just a new investor, period?
Yeah. So first of all, it's time or money. You got one or the other. If you have both, great. Yep. But anybody says you don't need any money to do this, you better have some time. And so you said if somebody's on a budget, you better have some time, or you better be willing to put in some time. Because if not, it's not just going to fall in your lap. Like, you might get lucky. You might get lucky on the first one,
right? But
it's not just going to fall in your lap. So the other thing that I would say is pick your lane in the beginning. It doesn't have to be the right lane. Just pick a lane. So if you're going to wholesale, then wholesale. If you're going to flip, then flip. If you're going to be a buy and hold investor, be a buy. It's like, focus there.
Yeah.
Because what that does is it allows you to pick the things that you need to focus on getting better at or do. So if you're a wholesaler, you got to be really good at marketing and sales. It's that simple. You got to be good at marketing and having sales conversations with somebody. If you're really great at marketing and sales, you have a background in that, I would recommend you start there. Flippers, you got to be good at project management. So raising money and project management. And so they're very different skill sets. So I see people all the time, they're great wholesalers and they're like, oh, I'm going to add flipping in. And their flipping business kind of doesn't do so well and their wholesaling business does well, and they just kind of even out. So just pick a lane. Like I started as a flipper, then I became a wholesaler primarily after that. I just liked it more. I got tired of the retail stuff. I got tired of the inspections. I got tired of some of those things. So just pick one. And are you really great project manager? Are you really great with budgeting? Are you really great with like creating a scope of work and managing like contractors and holding them accountable for what they're doing and managing that kind of project? If you are, flipping would be great for you. And then you can figure out the areas that you need to focus on. The third thing that I would say is get really tight on your criteria and where you want to operate. Don't take anything in the beginning. In the beginning, you're on a budget. You just need to get one deal. So what I would say is pick a zip code or 2 zip codes maybe that are transacting the most and own that market. So realtors call it the farm area. We should use the same terminology. Find your farm area, go deep in there. If I don't have any money, I'm going to like the pawn shops. I'm going to the liquor stores. I'm going to the bail bondsmans. I'm going to, I'm going to look at that area. Like there's somebody in that area that knows everything that's going on, and somebody is going to be in distress. You don't need to find a distressed house. You need to find a distressed person. So somebody who's going through distress that's willing to trade equity for ease and speed of transaction, because that's what you provide in any of these. And if I'm a flipper, I'm probably just working with wholesalers and realtors. I'm not going to do any direct mail marketing. I'm not going to do any direct to seller marketing. I'm just going to go find a deal from realtors and wholesalers. That's it.
That's awesome. Yeah. And that's what I'm known for. I'm a wholesaler. I've been a wholesaler for about 3 years, going on 4 years now. So I've had to learn all the different strategies, the buy and hold, the creative finance, the flipping, and for the areas. And I stay local to my Metro Detroit area. Everybody's like, well, why don't you do a virtual market? Because I don't know that market. I know this market like the back of my hand. So I stay here at the moment. Now I could go to other markets and I can give you advice and somebody else and like do what my normal criteria, but keep in mind, I don't know that area like the back of my hand. I know this area, so,
you can do like, if you can go really deep. You guys can go way deeper than you think that you're going right now. But with somebody who doesn't have a lot of money, the problem is they always cast too big of a net. So, and then, you know what? A lot of times in the beginning, you're like, you know what? I don't want to go where so many other people are going. I'm going to go over here where nobody is flipping or wholesaling or any of that stuff. And I'm going to go find a deal over here because there's no competition. No, 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 no. They're over there because there's money over there. There's no money over here. Like, don't come over here. There's not a lot of money over there. So when you're starting, if there's 100 deals going on a month in one area, you just need one.
Yep.
If you go over to a place where there's 5 deals a month going on, you still need one, but your odds are way worse of you getting that one. So go to an area that's transacting the most. What area is transacting the most? Where are the most flippers working? Where are the most wholesalers making money? A quick story. There was an area in Pensacola where it was a zip code that I said, I'm never going to do business there. It was like maybe you'd see a gun every now and then in a shooting, but it's like a pretty bad knife area, like kind of dangerous, like just not the place that you would go to at night. I wouldn't feel comfortable like going with my family there. And I was like, I'm never going to that zip code. Well, if you fast forward 2 years later, we made half of our money, half of our income for the whole company. We were doing like $2.5 million in that one zip code.
Wow.
Because we were wholesaling deals to landlords. We were getting a ton of deals there. There's a ton of distress. There's a ton of opportunity. And it was a zip code I said I would never go to. Just because I'm not going to flip there doesn't mean I can't wholesale houses in there. And so I had to find the people that were buying in there, but it was transacting like crazy. Like the cash transactions that were happening there was a ton of them. And I had to get to know that area. I had to know what streets to just say no to, or who would buy the houses in the most dangerous areas from us. And because there's just tons of opportunity there. And the white collar areas, the really expensive areas and houses that I wanted to live in with my family, they don't, most of them know realtors, and they're selling through a realtor, not off market. They don't have a ton of distress. And if they do, they'll find it. So those are some things that I would recommend if you're just getting started, is like go to the pockets who's transacting the most and start there, because you only need one. You just need that one deal. Let that money fund your next one and the next one and the next one.
Most definitely. So Dean actually asked, what are Bill's thoughts on virtual wholesaling, specifically locking up deals on the MLS?
So virtual wholesaling, I think, like, we did it. We were in Pensacola. We were virtual wholesaling in Chattanooga and Nashville. Like, we were all virtual, frankly.
Okay.
The thing that I would say about virtual, I've seen these people go national and just like lock up deals and sell them. I don't like the ethics of that specifically, of just like buying high and just let's see what we can do and then canceling the contract, because you don't know the market that well. One thing that I always recommend, if I'm going to go somewhere virtual, when I pick what it is, I'm either going to pick a lookalike market to mine. So a market that has similar demographics, similar so Chattanooga and Pensacola looked very similar.
Okay.
Population, the job market, the different, like, they have expensive houses and really cheap houses. And so I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I had a competitive advantage because I was living in Nashville, and everybody in Nashville at all the RIAs was like, it's too expensive. I can't find rental houses here. I can't find flip houses here. And so I was pushing all those people to Chattanooga. So I was building a business in Chattanooga and pushing them all to buy from me in Chattanooga. And so I had this idea that, what if it was only an hour and a half away? What if everybody in Nashville could buy from me in Chattanooga? And so that worked really well for a couple of years, till a lot of people caught on and started going to Chattanooga. And so, and becoming a little bit more competitive there. But I was cleaning up for like 2 years. And so I'd never been to Chattanooga. I never went there once. I hired somebody who was there, who knew the area. I also questioned 2 people at the RIA who had done a lot of business there about every zip code. Like, they told me, I sat him down. I think I bought the guy a cup of coffee. I was like, saw him at a RIA meeting, told him what I was doing. I was doing a lot of business in Pensacola, so I had a resume to back up why we should go to coffee. And then, a laundry list of everything that was going on in the zip code. So what I would recommend is there somewhere that you lived before? Is there somewhere that you grew up? Is there somewhere that you know very well? Is there somewhere that you have a competitive advantage of? And that would be an area that I would look at some of those cities, because we were underwriting like Jacksonville, which I had been before. Maryland, which is another place where I grew up as a kid. So there's certain areas that I know, that I've traveled to. I kind of understand them. I can learn them, and then take some time to get to know them before you just jump in. So that's my advice. I would recommend what competitive advantage do you have in the area, and not just say, oh, I heard that was a good market, I'm just going to jump in and try to make a couple bucks. Because I think you're going to have a challenge kind of breaking in. And and scaling that up.
Mm-hmm.
That's my perspective. I know
Yeah.
there's a lot of people out there that teach virtual wholesaling. They believe in it. They say they're doing really well with it. Nobody's going to compete with me in Pensacola.
Right.
No, like I know Pensacola. I know the zip codes. I know like the back of my hand. I've been almost every street around that area.
Mm-hmm.
I've lived there 4 different times. I know
Okay.
that I can. We did like 50% of the cash transactions per year there for years. And so
Yeah.
I don't think that there's a virtual wholesaler that's going to come in and beat me in my local area. They might get 1 or 2 deals, but they're not building
Mm-hmm.
a brand reputation there and things like that. So it kind of depends on what you're trying to do.
Yeah, we're having this issue right now where there's a lot of either virtual wholesalers or brand new wholesalers that come into the Detroit market, and Detroit comping is very different. In my opinion, it's like one of the hardest markets to comp that I know of anyways, because it's literally street by street, block by block. So you can go outside. If you go 1 block outside of a neighborhood, it will look trash. And 1 block inside that neighborhood could be a $400,000 house, you know?
Yeah, I mean, use that
So,
as your competitive advantage, right?
yeah.
And so I don't like, bash the people that are coming in. I really just say, hey, this is
No.
why we stand out. This is why
Yep.
I would recommend you go with us. This is what we do. We actually
Yep.
created like a sheet that had all these like it was like it wasn't really us versus them, but it was like these are all the things
Yep.
that we provide. Have you asked these people that are going to come in after us? It was like a leave behind. So it's like, do they have proof of funds? Do they have all this,
Mhm.
like all the stuff that as a new wholesaler, you're like, oh, I hope they don't ask me that. I hope they don't
Yeah.
ask me that. And so we're just setting up landmines for using our competitive advantage to not badmouth anybody or talk about how we're better than other people. It's just say, hey, here's all the things that we provide. If anybody comes in that gives you a better offer, make sure you're asking them all this stuff. Like, what are their reviews? Go look at them on Facebook. How many deals have they done? Like all of those things. Like, what's their reputation in the market? Have you ever heard of them before? Because we're just basically setting up the fact that we are a professional organization that has done, thousands of deals at this point. And here's our reviews, here's our testimonials, here's all the things that,
Yep.
that you're going with a reputable company versus, somebody who comes in. But when I was new, I would say, you know what? That big company can't support you the way that I can. I'm the one that you're going to talk to. I own the company. I'm the one you're going to talk to. I'll be the one at the closing table. I'll be the one that walks you through this whole transaction. And I'm going to be using my money because a lot of those houses I was buying or I would buy. So like I try to figure out what my competitive advantage of when I was small and when I was big. So you should be doing the same thing.
Yeah, most definitely. And that's actually what I do, a lot of JV deals as well. And so there's that's how I know a lot about this is either the new wholesalers or virtual wholesalers. And so I give out a lot of advice. I tell people this: you can give me any property to look at. I'll look at it and I'll give you my 100% honest opinion, even if whether we work together or we don't work together. So that way people can come to me with a deal, even if they don't have it locked up. I'll let them know what I think buyers in this area will pay for it, and we can work backwards and we can work together on it. And go from there. So
that's great.
And I don't ever go behind anybody's back to steal a deal or anything like that. Just ethically, that's just who I am. So
I mean, you could do that once, but then everybody's going to find out about it, and you're not going to make it.
Exactly. Yeah, you build a reputation, and it's just it happens. So I'm here for the long haul, no matter what. So,
nice.
So what are you doing in the future that say? Like, what are you building for the future? You notice that you said that there are a lot of things coming up with 7-figure flipping and things like that, that say maybe our audience can help you out with, or specifically what can, even if it's not something for the future, what can my audience help you out with?
Yeah, I'd say the most exciting thing that I'm building right now, and I'm lit up about it because I interviewed 2 young people today for my podcast. One is a 14-year-old young man, young boy, young person, 14 years old. He's flipping his 3rd house right now. And then I interviewed a 17-year-old girl she's done 7 deals. And, and so we've had these young people in our community. And I think everything that we do is for our future. And so everybody wants freedom that comes into our community, into our masterminds and coaching programs, all that stuff. And what we realize is we're trying to leave a legacy, but what if we can actually do that like actively? What if we can actively leave a legacy while we're doing it? And so all these young kids started coming to our events, started tagging along with their parents, like coming to our big conference. We have like a real estate conference every year called Flip Hacking Live. They were coming to that. And then they started 3 years ago, we had one speak on stage. And then the next year we had a 12-year-old and a 16-year-old speak on stage. And it was just kind of motivating all these kids and adults, frankly, to go do more. So last year, this past summer in June, I did an event at my office we had 70 kids come, and we taught them about money and real estate and business financials. And it was kind of a test to see, what it would be like, what the kids would get from it. And honestly, the parents got just as much of the kids as we were teaching money and financial literacy and these kind of things and real estate. And so what we decided to launch a mastermind group for kids. And so we're launching it right now. Like I'm in the middle of my launch right now. We haven't even started emailing it to the public, but we're building out the site. We're building everything right now. And I think Friday we launch it. So it's really exciting. It's called Teenage Tycoon. And I'm writing I'm writing a book right now called Teenage Tycoon for kids about money and entrepreneurship and a little bit of real estate. And so we launched this recently. So that's something I think that people could talk about is, we're building a mastermind for kids. So effectively every 2 weeks they have somebody that I know that's going to come on and talk to them about entrepreneurship. I got an e-commerce coach coming in. She's amazing. She's one of the top e-commerce people on the planet. Like these are people, Randy, that me and you could not get on a 1-hour Zoom call. Like I can't even I pay Russell Brunson runs a company called ClickFunnels. He's my marketing mentor. He's never been on a 1-hour Zoom call with me. He's going to come in and talk to the kids. He runs $1 billion company with a B, $1 billion company. They do over 100 million a year in sales. And so like the parents are going to be looking over the kids' shoulders during these calls. So every 2 weeks, I got a New York Times bestselling author. I got motivational speakers coming. I'm going to have huge YouTubers come talk to them. And so 25 people throughout the year, every 2 weeks, are going to come do a training for them on what they can do at their age to get started. Like if they could go back, what did they learn? What would they do? Just to motivate these kids to want to continue to grow and build a business and things like that. We have a video course about money and entrepreneurship and real estate that they're going to have access to. 2 events. We'll have an event in the summer and an event in the winter. For them, we have an 850 person conference in the summer here in Nashville. And then in the winter, they'll be here at my office and over at my farm. And then, and they're doing a book club. We're going to do a book club with the kids where they go through a book together and they meet every week on an accountability call for the book, where they can kind of learn what were your takeaways that's guided by some of our facilitators. So really amazing. This is what I'm most excited about. And I think is the future of what I can leave behind is impacting the future generation, like the next generation of our youth. And honestly, I think most of the parents are going to pick up this book and look over their kid's shoulder and learn just as much as they will from the group. And on top of that, I'll kind of leave it at this, but most people that need this group and mastermind and training for their kids, they can't afford it. So what I'm doing is for everybody that pays in full for the group, then we're gonna sponsor another family to come in for free. And we're not giving it to them, but they have to we're going to give it to them, but they have to keep, it's like when I was in college, if you had to keep a 3.0 GPA to keep your scholarship, if you were from Georgia, I went to Georgia Tech, these kids were like failing out like crazy. It was nuts. So they have to keep a participation percentage up or we're going to give it to another family. And so it's one price per family. I'm really excited about it. So if you have 5 kids or 6 kids or 8 kids, they can all come in. If you're a grandparent and you want to buy this for your grandkids, you can, things like that. So I think with Christmas coming up and end of year, it's really exciting. We're going to start on the first week of January for the program, but our promo starts launching here and I think we launch it Friday. So I'm excited.
That's awesome. So for anybody who is watching, I do have his website in the description. It's 7figureflipping.com, correct?
Yeah, the number 7figureflipping.com. And I just bought the domain today. It was a little bit expensive, but it's called teenagetycoon.com.
Teenagetycoon.com. Okay, awesome. Yeah, because the thing is that I had, growing up, we never had, talks about money. It was always taboo. School never really taught us. The most I got from my parents were, okay, how to balance a checkbook, and I'm surprised I got that. Most people didn't even get that, to be honest. And you know, the thing is that my parents were never really successful. I hate nothing to bag on my parents. I love my parents. They were very successful in giving me all the love and support possible. But financially, they were not successful. And so they always saw that, like, I was always kind of, I don't want to say I was above them, but I had an entrepreneur spirit where I would always be just out there working, trying to develop businesses, trying to, you know, develop money, doing whatever I could. Um, you know, so one of the best things that my dad ever taught me was, he said, listen, I don't care what anybody else does or what anybody else parents does. We're only required to do three things: put a roof over your head, food in your belly, and clothes on your back. And they don't have to be the best roof, doesn't have to be the best food, and it does not have to be the best clothes. So anything else outside of that, there's a rake, there's a lawnmower, there's a shovel. Go out there and earn it yourself. You know, best advice I ever got from my dad, and that's what I did. So
That's good. Hey, you know, I want to just bring something up real quick. I think when we think about success, it's easy for us as entrepreneurs who kind of understand the game, the financial game, and how to print money, especially as you get more successful. As people that are watching this, you become more successful. Opportunities open up, and you have tons of opportunity. You can just figure out, like, honestly, you can take every single dollar I have right now, and I'll figure out how to make it back 10 times faster than I made it the first time. And I wouldn't be scared, and I wouldn't worry about it. But I think success, there's a lot of people that have financial achievement. And so you use the word financial success. And I think success, Tony Robbins probably talks about the best. It's the science of achievement and art of fulfillment. The thing is there's people that have no money that are totally fulfilled with their lives. And that's success to me. And so I would say, if you're watching this, just be careful tying success to financial achievement, because we think that, and a lot of us, like, driven type A personalities that are like the 1%ers out there, like, and I mean, like, 1% crazy people that are like entrepreneurs, not 1%, because if you're making over 60K a year in the US, you're in the top 1% on the planet. So what we need to be careful of is tying financial gain to success in life. And there's a lot of people that work a 9 to 5 that are insanely happy. They're living in, you know, what to us would be like lower end housing, not having that much money, driving a crappy car, like whatever it is, but they're super happy. And these other people that are living in my neighborhood are constantly complaining and worried about their financial life, their life, all the stressors. They're all over social media, getting sucked in the haves and have-nots, like all of this stuff. That's not success. So, so your parents, like, I would say, like, we all define fulfillment, the art of fulfillment, very different. Every single person has a different version. That's why it's an art. It's an art because your art is different than your parents' art and my art and everybody else's art. So I think for all of us out there, like, we need to figure out how we feel successful in our life through that art of fulfillment. And for most of us that are high achievers, like you're like, I was above my parents, and you're probably in, like, I desire to achieve more, and they're fine achieving what they achieved. But what I don't like is when people want to achieve more, but they don't. And so that, to me, that's like mine is like, where is my achievement level and what have I achieved? Like what? And so I'm constantly looking to grow. And so if somebody's like, I just don't want to sit there at the end of my life and be like, I wish I went for it. And those people, I feel like that's the challenge when they're constantly making excuses. So anyway, it's just a little bit for everybody that's watching, I hope, to just kind of dial in the fact that just because something that I have or somebody else has, that's not your definition of success. Successful is not money. Successful is being fulfilled with your life. And if we can live in that, then, oh man, we can all just live our life by design. And that's what we're trying to do with these kids and these families, is like, it's not just to come in and just because this 14-year-old has flipped 3 houses doesn't mean you need to flip a house. Like, what are you excited about? What fires you up? Maybe it's tennis shoes. Maybe it's baseball cards. Maybe it's I don't know. Maybe it's sports memorabilia. I have no idea, but something you're excited about right now. Maybe it's just mowing a ton of lawns and growing a lawn mowing business. And I don't know, but there's something that you're excited about. Maybe it's playing an instrument or singing or writing books or something that's outside of the formal education system right now that I agree with you is totally broken. But let's find your passion and let's pour into it, because there's something that you're best in the world at that's God put in you to expand in his kingdom. And let's figure out how to pour into that. So that's I don't know. I kind of like leave it at that. That's what I'm excited about. And I just heard some things in there that, I mean, I'm sure I bet your parents are like insanely proud of you. And I hope they went for it. And they might be fine just clocking in and clocking out and living their life, you know?
Yeah, I was talking to my mom yesterday, and I was just telling her about everything that I'm doing, and she goes, "Oh my God, Randy, like I'm 40 years old now." She goes, "By the time you're 50, you're gonna be a millionaire." And I go, "I hope so, Ma. I hope so. You know, but no matter what, I'm still always gonna be there for you." So you know,
and be like, "Mom, no, next year I am."
Yeah,
you know, maybe next year, not in 10 years, next year. Like and sometimes like most of those, a lot of people are like, I don't even know how you do it. How do you do it? Like, but they're happy. They're so happy in their life and totally fulfilled. And they say to me all the time, like, that would give me a headache. That would kill me in a year. And like, well, if I don't do this, I feel like I'm going to die. So,
So that's one thing that I love to do is I actually love to teach people anything that I have knowledge wise, I want to pour into other people. If you want to learn, here you go. You know, here's my knowledge. Here's what based on my experience. Here you go. So that's kind of another reason why I've done the podcast. I've done the Facebook group, and I'm doing the YouTube channel as well. So trying to give back as much as possible.
Nice. I feel the same way.
Most definitely. So I want to respect your time, you know, with that. And I really do appreciate you coming on. And I really do. So anybody who is watching, go down, see the sevenfigureflipping.com and you know, check out you said it was the Teen Tycoon.
TeenageTycoon.com.
Tycoon.
Hey, look, if you go there right now, if you're watching this live, you're going to find like a park domain. I literally bought it an hour ago, but by Friday, we should have it up and rolling. And down the road, that's where it'll live. So it'll be, I'm writing a book. I think it'll be a New York Times bestseller. I'm going to go to work on that thing. So the book won't be ready until next December. Most
definitely. So, and if you have any questions or anything like that, ask them in the chat if you're watching the replay, if you're not live, and I'll be able to, I'll try to answer them as much as I can. So thank you, Bill, for coming on. And thank you for everything that you've done, you know, on your YouTube channel for Seven Figure Flipping. Like, honestly, I've learned a lot just by watching all that. So, and I'll definitely be at the next Flip Hacking Live. So next year. Awesome. So, yes. So with that, I'm going to bring you down. I'm going to do my exit, and then we'll talk for a minute. All right.
Sounds good.
So, all right. How's it going? Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I really do appreciate it. And again, check out Seven Figure Flipping in the description, or just the number 7figureflipping.com. And we'll see you on the next podcast. We'll see you with the next guest. All right. Have a good one. Thank you.
Once a day that I would pray for you, I'd go and misbehave just so you'd notice too. Sneaking looks up and down from across the room. Damn.